Coming up on our newscast this evening, the United Nations Third Committee adopts a resolution pushing for North Korea to be brought to The Hague for human rights violations. They will now be put to a vote at a plenary session next month. North Korean Special Envoy Choe Ryong-hae holds a one-on-one with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The question is, though, will this lead to a summit between regime leader Kim Jong-un and Putin? And Israeli Prime Minister vows a harsh response to an attack on the Orthodox Jewish community in Jerusalem. Stay tuned for these stories and more on Early Edition at 6. Hello and welcome to our newscast. It's Wednesday, November 19th here in Korea, brought to you live from Seoul. I'm Na-hyun Kyung.
And I'm Daniel Choe. Thank you for joining us. We begin with news coming out of the UN headquarters in New York, where a committee has adopted a resolution on North Korea's human rights abuses.
That's right. It's the strongest worded resolution to date, which pushes for Pyongyang to be brought to the International Criminal Court. Hwang Ji-hae has the first story of the day.
A UN Human Rights Committee approved a resolution on Tuesday which calls for the Security Council to refer North Korea to the International Criminal Court for alleged crimes against humanity. The resolution, drafted by the European Union and Japan, passed overwhelmingly with the support of 111 countries. 19 members opposed it and 55 abstained. The approval came despite last-minute protests by North Korea and its allies. Earlier in the day, Cuba proposed an amendment that would have deleted some lines in the resolution that says North Korean leader Kim Jong-un should face the ICC. The committee voted down that proposal. The original EU-Japan drafted resolution will now be put to a vote at a plenary UN assembly in the coming weeks, but while it mounts extra pressure on Pyongyang, it's unlikely to actually bring about any tangible results in the criminal court. Pundits say China and Russia, both veto-wielding permanent members of the Security Council, will almost certainly use their power to stop the North Korean leader being targeted by prosecutors. The two countries voted for the Cuban proposal while voting against the original one. North Korea fired off some sharp warnings before Tuesday's vote, saying the passage of the resolution would prompt it to conduct further nuclear tests. The vote came after a UN investigative panel concluded in February that officials in the north are responsible for systematic killing, torture, and starvation. Hwang Ji-hae, Arirang News.
And although North Korea maintains that it's not for the international community to meddle in its affairs regarding human rights, there are detailed and numerous accounts from North Korean defectors that make it difficult for the rest of the world to sit back and do nothing. Arirang's Connie Kim has this report.
두 살 난 딸도 그 인신매매로 중국에서 이렇게 이제 그 갈라져 가지고 팔렸고 지금 현재는
도망치고 싶은 생각이 정말 너무 엄청 많았고 막 자유롭게 살고 싶은 생각도 그때 당시 없지 않아 있었습니다.
네, 대한민국에 들어와서 북한이 어떤 나라이고 그토록 참혹하게 제가 어떤 생활을 살았는지 깨닫게 되었고.
These three North Korean defectors say they're still somewhat fearful that North Korean agents may target them. But it's not stopping them from speaking out about their experiences, which they hope will raise awareness of what it's like to live in North Korea under the oppressive watch of the regime. The secluded state has long been criticized for its human rights abuses, with hundreds of thousands of people believed to be in political prison camps. With the United Nations General Assembly poised to vote on a resolution that would refer the North Korean regime to the International Criminal Court for human rights violations, experts say first-hand accounts of those abuses can only solidify the case.
The testimonies of the North Korean defectors are evidence of human rights violations in the North. Their stories help the international community to pressure the North to improve conditions.
The defectors hope this is a first step in the long journey toward unification of the two Koreas.
By coming out to the public and speaking out, I hope it leads to a unified Korea. I hope the day will come when we don't have to be separated, when we can have dinner together and drive to our relatives when we want to see them.
Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, North Korea's special envoy Choe Ryong-hae sat down for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. That meeting is drawing attention because if it leads to a summit between Kim Jong-un and Putin, it would come before Kim meets with China's Xi Jinping. Hwang Sung-hee has the details.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's special envoy Choe Ryong-hae held an hour-long meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on Tuesday. The Kremlin said Choe delivered a message from the young Kim, but provided no further details. Pundits say the possibility of arranging a summit between the two leaders could also be a part of Choe's mission. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov had told Russian news agency Itar-TASS that the outlook for denuclearization of the Korean peninsula would be the first subject taken up. Choe is being accompanied on his trip by North Korea's chief nuclear envoy Kim Kye-kwan. The North Korean delegation is scheduled to meet with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Thursday before heading to the country's far eastern cities of Khabarovsk and Vladivostok to discuss trade and economic projects. North Korea is seeking further cooperation with Russia in the energy and agriculture sectors, while Moscow wants access to Pyongyang's natural resources worth an estimated $25 billion. This marks the third visit by a high-ranking North Korean official to Moscow this year. In October, Foreign Minister Ri Su-yong visited Russia for the first time in 4 years. Experts say these are part of Pyongyang's efforts to diversify its diplomatic partners as it finds itself on the outs with longtime ally China. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Over here in South Korea, the Korean military conducted a large-scale landing exercise off Korea's southeastern coast, a part of an ongoing annual defense drill. According to military officials, its aim is to prevent enemy provocations, including North Korean threats. Our Kim Yeon-bin brings us the details.
At the break of dawn, orders are given and amphibious assault landing vehicles infiltrate enemy territory. Marines hop off the tanks, secure a perimeter, and soon after, neutralize enemy firepower. Air-cushioned vehicles and transport crafts storm in with supplies and heavy arms, while the Korean-made K-1 tank provides fire support. This joint amphibious landing exercise is part of the annual Hague exercise, which began in 1996. This year's drill is the largest ever.
Our Navy and Marines get realistic training through this exercise for operations that play a decisive role during war.
The orders are given out 20 miles away from the Asia's largest transport ship, the Tokdo LPX. It is used as a command center, coordinating operations and giving orders to the people manning attack helicopters and armored vehicles. Over 1,400 Marines, 20 vessels, and other amphibious vehicles were involved in this year's exercise. Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Hwang Gi-chul, emphasized the importance of the drill during a visit to the command center.
Our military's core value dictates we conduct a powerful drill. Through that, we will be able to prevent enemy provocations and come out victorious.
This year's 6-day exercise is aimed at enhancing the Korean military's amphibious landing capabilities and runs through Thursday. Kim Yeon-bin, Arirang News.
2 new Korean government bodies are officially launched this Wednesday. The latest changes are in light of the April ferry sinking. Our Kim Young-gil has the details.
Prime Minister Chung Hong-won calls them the 2 cornerstones in responding to future disasters and leading public sector reforms in Korea. At the inauguration ceremony of the Safety Ministry and agency in charge of government personnel matters, the Prime Minister said an integrated disaster response system was needed to guarantee the people's safety, and he called for agencies to quickly adapt to the new command structure. Taking lessons from April's Seoul ferry disaster, the Ministry of Public Safety and Security, with a staff of 10,000 people, will act as the government's control tower for safeguarding the Korean population. The Korea Coast Guard and the National Emergency Management Agency have been placed under its watch as two sub-level agencies. Former Navy Admiral Park In-young was tapped to lead the new safety ministry and awaits a confirmation hearing at the National Assembly, which is scheduled for early next month. The overhaul also sets up a new agency that will be in charge of managing government personnel. In addition to handling the human resources of civil servants, it is tasked with leading reforms in Korea's bureaucratic structure. Lee Geum-myeon, a former Samsung Electronics official who specialized in the field of personnel management for decades, was nominated to lead the agency. The formation of the new bodies comes nearly 200 days after President Park Geun-hye promised government restructuring as a follow-up measure to April's Seoul ferry disaster, which left more than 300 people dead or missing. Kim Jong-un, Arirang News.
Face a one-day entry ban. 77.
Digging deeper, getting to the bottom of stories that impact your life. Talking with you on air and online, connecting you with experts on the world's most pressing issues. News and current affairs at its best. With Na Hyung-kyung and Daniel Choe.
Arirang News.
Arirang News.
Arirang News.
On Early Edition at 6.
Amid backlash from the agriculture community over Korea's free trade agreement with China, President Park Geun-hye reached out on this Wednesday, vowing to minimize damage to the sector. She also called for new innovations to carry the industry into a new era. Shin Se-min has this report.
Minimizing damage to Korea's agricultural sector from the Korea-China Free Trade Agreement is what President Park Geun-hye is promising to the nation's farmers. At an open discussion Wednesday in the city of Ansong, south of Seoul, President Park said the agriculture sector is one of Korea's key industries and that her government would be in close consultations with those involved to make sure their concerns are being heard.
이처럼 개방에 대한 방어적인 대책도 중요하지만 더욱 중요한 것은 우리 앞에 놓인 도전과 변화를 기회로 만들 수 있는 창조적 해법과 할 수 있다는 자신감입니다. 저는 지금 이 순간이 우리 농업과 농촌을 한 단계 더 도약시키느냐 아니면 추락하느냐를 결정짓는 골든 타임이라고 생각합니다.
The president also spoke about ways to revitalize the sector through the integration of information technology. She said the creation of smart farms where farming environments can be monitored in a more efficient manner using biotechnology would be a boon for the sector. President Park also said Korea should advance into the international market, starting with China and Southeast Asian countries by utilizing free trade agreements. She said Korean produce in particular will benefit from greater access to the Chinese market. The president's promise follows a series of protests and rallies staged by local farmers against the Korea-China FTA, which will go into effect likely next year. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
In the meantime, falling global oil prices have pushed Korea's producer prices to their lowest level since early 2011. And as our Song Ji-sun reports, this has prompted the Bank of Korea to cut its inflation forecast for this year and next.
Korea's producer prices slumped to their lowest point in nearly 4 years in October, due largely to tumbling crude oil prices and strong agricultural harvests. The Bank of Korea says its producer price index fell for the third consecutive month in October to 104.56, down 0.6% from a year earlier and its lowest level since January 2011. Plunging energy prices had a knock-on effect on the prices of industrial products that fell an average of 2.4%. Dubai crude continues to fall like a stone, with the price plunging over 10% last month after dropping 5% in September. The weak global economic recovery is reducing demand for crude, but oil-producing nations in the Middle East are not cutting their output. But that's welcome news for drivers and air travelers, as gas and diesel prices in Korea fell an average of 15% from a year earlier. Agriculture and fisheries product prices also went down, thanks to strong harvests and good catches.
Fruit and vegetable prices also tumbled 17% from the previous month. The falling prices have prompted Korea's central bank to slash its inflation outlook for this year by half a percentage point to 1.4%. It has also cut next year's outlook from 2.7 to 2.4%. 송지선, Arirang News.
Quite a few of the nation's major banks are preparing to lay off staff through early next year. Industry insiders say KB Kookmin will likely start discussing offering voluntary retirement packages to its employees in the coming days. Others, including Uribank, are also planning similar measures, while some banks will also cut back on the number of new hires. This comes as banks have seen their profits tumble recently, with their aging workforces dragging down productivity.
Let's shift our focus outside of Korea now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has promised a harsh and swift response in what he said was a battle for Jerusalem spurred on by the Palestinian Authority, Hamas, and Islamic Jihad. The Prime Minister ordered that the perpetrators' homes be destroyed. This in response to the latest attack on a synagogue in an ultra-Orthodox neighborhood of East Jerusalem. Palestinian cousins stormed the house of prayer with guns in hand and killed at least 3 rabbis and wounded others before being shot dead in a firefight with police. A police officer also died of his wounds at a hospital later. Tensions have been mounting in Jerusalem over access to a holy site known to Jews as the Temple Mount and to Muslims as Al-Haram al-Sharif. And some positive news in the fight against Ebola. A faster and cheaper Ebola test could be introduced in just a few months. The World Health Organization is reviewing 2 types of new tests. If successfully developed, they can give out results in as little as 15 minutes, a dramatic improvement from the current standard methods that take several hours. Meanwhile, India says it is exercising an abundance of caution in isolating a 26-year-old national who returned home after being cured of Ebola in Liberia. While he tested negative at Delhi airport, authorities say his semen still had traces of the virus. Men who survive Ebola are advised against having sex, as their semen could carry the virus for up to 90 days. More health tips in some sense. The next time you're at a grocery store buying soap, make sure to check the label of ingredients first. If it contains triclosan, you might want to steer clear from that product. Researchers say this widely used chemical could potentially damage your liver. Our Lee Ji-yoon has more.
Should you be worried if you just washed your hands with liquid soap? Maybe. Researchers from the University of California, San Diego School of Medicine recently discovered that a common ingredient in many liquid hand soaps, shampoos, and even toothpastes can trigger liver cancer. The ingredient researchers are worried about is called triclosan. According to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, triclosan is classified as an antibacterial agent added to products to reduce or prevent bacterial contamination. Then how does something that is supposed to keep us healthy end up having the opposite effect? Researchers found that mice exposed to the chemical for 6 months, equivalent to about 18 human years, became more susceptible to liver tumors than mice not exposed to it. Others say triclosan becomes even more harmful when combined with other compounds.
When triclosan is exposed to sunlight, in the water system, it's converted to dioxins, which are carcinogens.
The FDA says it doesn't have enough evidence to recommend an end to the use of triclosan in consumer products. The U.S. state of Minnesota, however, is currently looking into legislation that would ban products containing triclosan in the state. Lee Ji-yoon, Arirang News.
Long under heavy fire for alleged corruption, FIFA has turned the tables and filed a criminal complaint against unnamed individuals over the bidding race for the 2018 and 2022 World Cups. Now, the world governing body of football said in a statement, and these are some of the direct quotes, there seem to be isolated cases of international transfers of assets with connections to Switzerland that merit examination by authorities. The criminal complaint was filed to Switzerland's Attorney General on Tuesday. FIFA said it will submit all 430 pages of a recent confidential investigation by American prosecutor Michael Garcia. Russia and Qatar won the bidding contests for the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, respectively. Now, trans fats have long been linked to all sorts of health problems, such as heart diseases and high cholesterol. That's not new. What is new is that it could also impair your memory. Researchers at the University of California, San Diego again conducted a word memory test on around 700 young and middle-aged men and found out that those who consumed the most trans fats remembered fewer words than those who ate the least. The doctor who led the study says trans fats may help preserve food but has an opposite effect on people's memories.
The push to go green, it's no longer limited to hybrid cars or electric buses. There's also been a surge in the number of fuel-efficient planes crisscrossing the world's skies. Airbus has launched the latest, the A350, and it's here in Korea as part of a 5-nation demonstration tour of Asia. Our Connie Lee has more.
Say hello to the A350 jetliner, the latest passenger plane from European manufacturer Airbus. It's not officially carrying passengers yet, but has arrived in Korea on the first stop of its 11-day Asia tour. The A350 is massive, but lightweight, different from most other passenger planes.
It's an aircraft that brings together fantastic comfort for passengers, but also brings a lot of efficiency for airlines, saves a lot of fuel, it burns 25% less fuel, and it can carry 300 passengers for around 15,000 kilometers.
The plane boasts impressive fuel efficiency. It uses less fuel because it's lightweight, thanks to its use of carbon fiber in place of steel. However, Airbus is not the only company with carbon fiber planes. Boeing has its own fuel-efficient jetliner, the B787 Dreamliner. Smaller than the A350, this plane uses 20% less fuel than its non-carbon fiber counterparts. Passengers have been able to fly on the B787 since 2011, and Virgin Atlantic was the most recent company to order the B787 last month. Qatar Airways will give the Airbus A350 its first commercial flight in mid-December, and Korea's Asiana Airlines will put its own A350s into operation in 2017. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
And moving on to some entertainment news, it's that time of the year when some stars shine a little brighter than others and bag well-deserved awards.
Just a little bit. Our Im Yoon-hee shares us the latest accomplishments and recognitions earned by the best in show business outside of Korea. She starts off with the hero in the movie Interstellar.
Actor Matthew McConaughey has added one more accolade to his impressive list of achievements. He's now the 2,534th star to have his name added to the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
I have a career that on Monday, I look forward to Monday morning to going to work. That I'm proud to be able to say. This industry's given me a lot. It's given me a chance to live out some dreams I didn't even know I had.
McConaughey's most recent movie, Interstellar, has been a hit at the box office. He stars as a former NASA pilot turned farmer, looking to find a way to save civilization. Earth is on the brink of extinction, but a wormhole offers a chance at discovering 3 potentially inhabitable planets that happen to be circling a black hole. The trip, however, is full of unforeseen dangers, and soon the crew, led by McConaughey's character, finds themselves caught between a gravitational time dilation. The team of astronauts must find a way to save not just themselves, but also the human race. Over in the music industry, Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter Billy Joel has been honored as the next recipient of the Gershwin Prize for Popular Song. It's a prestigious award given by the U.S. Library of Congress for a lifetime contribution to popular music. And the life and career of yet another legendary musician, Bono, was recently illustrated into a bright and colorful comic book. From the U2 frontman's early life and his rock star career, all the way through his humanitarian efforts, all play out in the pages of Blue Water Productions' Fame comic series. Im Yoon-hee, Arirang News.
Well, that's a wrap for us. Thank you for staying with us. To our viewers in different time zones, have a wonderful day. This has been Daniel Choe.
And I'm Na Hyun-kyung. If you are tuning in from Korea, have a great evening. Daniel and I will be back tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.